It's up to you, New York, New York.
All right, we are back. How we doing, everyone? It's the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. I am your host, Richie, here with my good friend, Mr. Corey Rain, out in Hollywood, Florida, originally from the Hudson Valley. How you doing, boss?
I'm doing good, man. A little disappointed in the modest two-game losing streak by the Yanks, but not terribly upset either.
Nah, it's all good, bro. They've lost three of four peaks and valleys in the season. We're going to be devoting this episode to the Yanks. It's going to be titled Midnight Yankees Chat with Corey. They know who I am, and they know who Corey is, but we're with Corey. So essentially, Corey is star of the show tonight. Shouts out to Talk of New York. If you're hanging on Talk of New York, we are live. I'm sure there are many Yankee fans that may bump into this tonight. Also, check out Yankees Daily, guys. If you're on Facebook, definitely check out Yankees Daily. One of the best places to get your Yankees fix, and just a massive community, over 100,000 members. So
Incredible.
definitely give that a look. And yeah, I posted this in Talk in New York as well. We have not had our inaugural show yet, but we are getting it together gradually. But definitely have a nice little community there, starting off over 3,000 people. So Corey, Cam Schlittler definitely pitched a pretty good game today. Actually, quite a fine game. What went wrong though? But I saw a solid 3 innings of this at the end as I was at my less fun job. But what are your thoughts on how this played out tonight?
Um, you know, to me, a lot of people are going to look at the bullpen not getting the job done, which they didn't. But to me, it was the Yankees just couldn't get the big hit tonight. They had chances and they couldn't break the game open. And 2-0 just wasn't going to be good enough in the late innings. You would think, for the most part, it would have been because they've been great all year, but just didn't happen tonight. They struck out a lot. Milwaukee does have a really good pitching staff, so got to give them some credit too.
For
But
sure.
yeah, it just their offense did not get tack on runs, and it hurt them.
Now, I wanted to ask you this, Corey, because as I stated, I saw the latter innings, basically when the Yankee bullpen got involved. I know Cam Schlittler took one off of the leg. Was he removed after that, or was he able to shake it off? Because I did not see that part of the game.
No, he wasn't removed. He continued. Um, he pitched 6 innings. They possibly could have sent him out for the seventh, but they put in Hedrick, and Hedrick's been good all year. He gave up a home run,
That I
solo
know.
shot,
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
and then
Camilo
yeah,
Duvall. I'm going to let you get to him, but I am not happy with this guy right now. But continue, Corey.
Yeah, I just think there was some weird stuff going on. Some soft contact and some weird plays in the extra innings where Tim Hill throwing to the wrong base, and yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
was weird, man.
It's wacky, but while I am always an optimistic person and a positive thinker and never one to really dog out the Yankees because I've been blessed with seeing my team win 5 championships in my lifetime. What I will
Yeah,
say is this: once in a while, when you've seen so many games of your team over the years, you do have those kind of ominous feelings, or just you see it coming. And I must admit that when I put the ball game on, as I was monitoring it all day, every chance I could, but I kind of felt that something silly was going to happen with that. And it's a high leverage situation. Tim Hill, truthfully, um, I've liked what he's done this year, and I even said that despite the boo boo of sorts, um, I don't put this on him. I put this on
yeah,
Camilo Duvall because with 2 outs before he gives up the tater, if you if you just get out of that, then you have your man Bednar who pitched a clean inning. So there's
yeah.
that.
He and Milwaukee's dangerous because when they get on base, they're running. It's a track meet. He left a couple of sliders over the plate, and they stole a base. He gave up another single, and boom, it was tied. I don't blame Tim Hill. Tim Hill's been great all year. I mean, the guy's allowed to not be perfect.
Yeah, my frustration with Duvall this year is like it seems like a lot of his troubles arise when he gets 2 outs. It's weird.
Yeah.
Because usually you figure if you get 2 outs, and sometimes it's like starting it clean and then
Hmm.
having issues. But in Yankee Stadium, particularly, the long ball has been an issue for him.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll tell you the truth, this is a guy that was a pretty solid closer as a member of the San Francisco Giants, but it just doesn't seem to have translated well or well enough since he's come over to the Yankees when Brian Cashman, even going back to last year, was adding a lot of arms to this pen,
Yep.
whether it was, former Yankee closer Devin Williams, they added Bednar, they added Duvall. Bednar and Duvall were, deadline deals. Duvall has a world of talent, but
Yeah. When
you
you
know,
look
I,
at this guy, it's like he's throwing 99 sinker, 100 hit nasty slide. Like, how does he get hit? Is what I want to know. Like, how does it happen?
no, yeah, I know, and it just goes to show you how things have changed because in the old days, you know, guys topping out at 98, 97, 96, that was good stuff. But now it's like you're talking just straight cheddar with so many of these live arms coming out of bullpens or even starters. I mean, you look at Cam Schlittler and some of the velocities and the speeds that he hits, sometimes 15, 20 times a game. It's pretty devastating.
And the kid that pitched last night for Milwaukee, I'm gonna
Well,
butcher
yeah,
the pronunciation
Jacob.
of his name. Yeah,
Yeah, is it Jacob Mizrachi? Is it Jacob
Yeah,
Mizrachi?
Mizurowski. Yeah, yeah. But Michael K brought up a good point, though. As much as everybody throws hard now, he's throwing 103, 104. Is it
Yeah, that's
sustainable
like, yeah,
physically?
that's no. And the answer is no. And I'll be honest, like I mentioned Cam Schlittler. Like I worry about Cam when it comes to, you know, that growing velocity and as hard as he throws because, in so many aspects of his game, I do refer to him in a very complimentary tone as Baby Cole because he does remind
Yeah,
me of a young Garrett Cole.
he does. It's a similar style. The really great command. He doesn't have Cole's slider. That's for sure.
Well, to be fair, not many do.
Yeah, true. I think that's the next step for him too. Like him
Absolutely. It's a good
using
put away pitch.
his curveball more. That cutter is a nice pitch. It's a different look, but I think sometimes like pitchers need to be taught to conserve velocity when they're starters because you can't just pump 98 to 100 for 100 pitches. You can't
Well,
do
it's
it.
also the difference between sometimes making it into the seventh or later versus being
Yep.
pulled after six. Now, personally, I think with the scary ball coming back to him, that may have been a motivation to get him out of there after six. But truthfully, this is a guy that more times than not is giving you the best starts of anybody currently in that Yankee rotation. Now, I do want to ask you this. You got Garrett Cole on the horizon, as well as Carlos Rodon that will eventually rejoin the staff. Well, join it for the first time this season. Do you
Tomorrow.
feel that? Yeah, yeah. Do you feel that Elmer Rodriguez fits in this bullpen, especially when you have some of the middle question marks to get to bed now?
Absolutely. I also think Weathers fits in the bullpen.
Weathers definitely fits in the bullpen, especially with his K ratios.
Yep. I don't think they're going to take Warren out the rotation. He belongs there. He's earned it. I know he had a bad start last
Yeah, he's
time, but
coming off his first legitimate crummy start. He's been good
but
this
that's
year.
allowed. Like
Of course. I mean, look at Max Fried. He had that one crummy
yep.
inning yesterday, and
Yep.
that kind of set the tone for the game. This is one of those games where I will admit you are going to get frustrated, and
Yeah.
obviously you have a Tampa Bay Rays team that it seems like they're not really going to be going anywhere. I know a lot of Yankee fans, oh, they'll fall apart in June or July. I'm like, based on what, guys?
I don't know. I'm not going to say they're going to fall apart, but I don't know if I totally believe in them yet.
I will say this. When I look at rosters and I know what the Jays can be if they're healthy and playing their best ball, but they're supposed to be better than they are. I
Yes.
have lost a lot of faith in the Boston Red Sox. John Henry, that's a whole mess over there. Baltimore
Yes.
Orioles, can't really say I'm surprised. I feel that the Orioles are still a year away. They got to get right
Yeah.
with each other. This is still.
I thought I know it's May, but I thought they would be better. But their starting pitching, they've never really been able to get an ace there.
No, no, and I
Besides
remember,
Burt. Yeah, yeah.
and I remember when we stole Eminem from them.
Yep.
Yeah, that was one of the best Yankee acquisitions. You talk about a guy that wish would have won a World Series. He was so deserving. One of my all-time favorite Yankee pitchers, although he wasn't grown in the Yankee system. Of course, Mike Mussina, phenomenal, just a truly phenomenal player. And in some respects, I see him as a bit of a forgotten Yankee. But
Great
I will
pitcher. He's an
say
artist.
this. When I look at the layout of this team right now, I feel pretty good because from a depth-based standpoint, whether it's in the minors, like you take a guy like an Anthony Volpe or a Louis Steele, or you look at guys that are complementary pieces right now that can fill in, whether DHing, whether playing the infield like an Ahmed Rosario. This
Look at
is one of the
Goldschmidt.
deeper
Yeah.
Yankee. Yeah, Goldschmidt hitting in the one hole, which I actually like hitting in front of Rice. And yeah, Rice is officially hitting a real slump, but I kind of expected it coming off of the injury.
Yeah. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. I like McMahon is picking it up. He had a big hit tonight. I mean,
Yeah,
this
good
team has
shout out
real
McMahon.
chemistry. This real team has real chemistry. And the thing that'll put them over the top is shoring up the bullpen, the bridge to Bednar. I think
Yeah,
that's the dead.
absolutely. That
Yeah.
and I'll be honest with you, I might be looking a little too far ahead, but something tells me that Ryan Weathers, to your point, I've mentioned this in the past. I've also mentioned it off air. Ryan Weathers could be one of those dudes that gets into high leverage situations because of the swing and miss value.
Yep. And
The man
also,
does get a lot of Ks,
he's very fiery as well.
which fits that mold. You know who he reminds
Yep.
me of in terms of the fiery element? Little Jeff Nelson, a little Graham Lloyd.
Yep.
Now, of course, you want him to work on the walks, but I
But he's
feel that in shorter sample sizes, when you're coming in to a game as opposed to starting it and you have to go
yeah,
through guys three times through the lineup, I think Ryan Weathers could be a hell of a find. And his old man was a pretty good pitcher for the Yanks
pretty good
and,
pitcher,
and
and
a and a key cog back in the day.
he was important for the '96 team for sure.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, he's got tremendous stuff. Like that kid has real talent. Um, and that's why I'm not worried. Like, yeah, obviously, right now, they don't probably have a true setup man, but they'll figure it out.
I will say this, and I know that this goes against the grain to a level, but it's been adopted more in today's baseball. I understand that Bednar is your closer, but you
Yep.
take a game like tonight, for instance, and I'm not knocking on Aaron Boone. He's using the formula, and guys still got to do their jobs. But I do like the idea sometimes, if it's the best offensive players or the toughest part of a particular lineup, say if it's arriving in the eighth as opposed to the ninth,
Yep.
I'm okay with letting Bednar get that eighth. And even if he's not going to pitch the ninth, if you have the lead, this is how you grow confidence of other guys. Because at the end of the day, just like baseball's changed so much, you don't have as many 20 game winners anymore.
Right.
300 wins is like a super rarity because of the way that the game is broken up into segments with bullpens playing such a deeper part of today's baseball. Where in the old days, you take your aces like your Bob Gibsons and your Tom Seavers and that cloth of talent, those guys are expected to do 7.1, 7.2, no problem.
And they train for it. Now they don't. Now it's max effort, which is wrong. It's the wrong way to teach, in my opinion.
And every team is different and every organization is different. But truthfully, I do agree with you. And like, go back to the Cam Schlittler point about him, hopefully acquiring, a nice put away pitch like the slider, so that way it's not always gas. The curveball's good, not great. It's good. And to your point, I do like the cutter.
Yep.
But I believe that this Yankee team's in a good place all in all. Of
They
course,
are.
I want to avoid a sweep tomorrow,
Of course.
and these Brewers are a good team, and that
They
National League
are.
Central is a division that has made a lot of people pay attention because this is a division where it's like you got three tomato cans and you got the Brewers and the Cubs. Now it's like you
But
got five teams that are all vying for it.
the Cardinals are better than people thought too.
Oh, I didn't see that for the Cardinals this year, not by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. The Brewers are one of those teams where they're just annoying. Like they don't have the greatest talent top to bottom. They're just pests. They are. They don't strike out. They steal bases. They don't hit a lot of home runs, but they draw their
No,
walks.
and walks are so vital, so
Yep.
vital in the OBP and just being able to score more runs. I want to change gears just for a moment, and then we're going to come right back to the Yanks.
Yep.
New York related topic in a way. Obviously, the New York Knicks, the guy in my avatar, Jalen Brunson, they're up 3-0 on the Philadelphia 76ers. Very exciting right now for Knicks fans, and many Knicks fans are Yankee fans as well. But this is not even about the Knicks. This is about Philly. I know that there's been a lot of memes and a lot of jokes. Joel Embiid getting rather desperate to make sure that they had fan representation for this series, and the Knicks fans, Celebrity Row, kind of moved over to Philly as well as a
Yeah.
lot of traveling Knicks fans. But I'm gonna say it now, and some of my Philly friends might get a little pissed off, but I don't really care because I'm speaking and shooting it from the hip. they are the they are not a 76ers town. Last time that the 76ers had that kind of priority was when the answer was running around
Yeah.
winning MVPs and bringing hip hop to basketball.
Yeah, they've
But
always been Phillies and Eagles before.
yeah, absolutely. And the Flyers too. Got to give the Flyers their praise too,
Yeah.
as they're getting their brains beat in by the former Hartford Whalers, the Carolina Hurricanes. But the reason I bring this up is because it's pertinent to the New York Knicks, and it's on full display. Because listen, I know that a lot of Giant fans travel well, but you're not making that same kind of impact and running over things at the lake. In baseball, it's a little different because baseball's a little more calm. You know,
Yes.
while they may be the same people that in, inhabit Lincoln Financial Field, it's not the same vibe between
No,
if you're at a Philly game versus if you're at an Eagle game as a visitor. A lot more
not at
civil
all.
in baseball.
Yes.
But you know, my favorite Yankee of all time, Don Mattingly, recently getting this opportunity with the Philadelphia Phillies, and of course, his son Preston is in the front office. What are your thoughts on Donnie Baseball's opportunity, and how do you think he's handling it?
I'm happy for him. I actually like Rob Thompson, so I'm glad that they actually didn't really disrespect him. They gave him an
Yeah, that's
opportunity
Yankee
to.
culture. That's Yankee
Yeah.
culture. Rob Thompson, huge staple with a lot of Yankee teams for a very long time, and he actually replaced World Series managing Joe Girardi, our most recent
Yeah.
World Series win.
Weird. But yes, the Phillies are playing better. Um, Obviously, they weren't as futile as they were showing, but I don't know, man. I wish Donnie the best, man. He's a great guy. He's had his ups and downs as a manager, as we talked about before, but we'll see. It's all
I
about
mean, I'll
execution at
put
the
it
end of the day.
bluntly.
Yeah,
Seeing my favorite New York Yankee wear a Toronto Blue Jays uniform was all kinds of weird and strange and uncomfortable for me, especially when we ran into them in the
kind of
playoffs
sickening,
last
to
year.
be honest.
Yeah, to a level, and I know that many Yankee fans are have strong opinions about why Reggie Jackson wasn't exactly seeing things with Hal and not being heard, so to speak.
Yeah.
His last baseball situation in Houston, of all places. And then, Donnie kind of followed Torrey.
Yep.
Years with fours are painful. You know, 94 strike. Should have won. Should have been a part of a World Series. I'm not going to say he would have won because the Expos were damn good that year.
They could have
Um,
won, though.
yeah, for sure. 2004. Please, I'm not even talking about that shit.
We're not going there.
But Donnie was part of that team on the
Yep.
coaching spec, and ugh, and then most recently 25, and it had the storybook kind of feel to it because the Seattle Mariners ended his baseball career, and I remember being 15-year-old Richie, dropping some serious tears as the
Same.
Yankees walked off the field in Seattle because I just knew that was probably my guy's last game. And, Derek Jeter was part of that playoff roster. I think he learned so much so quickly,
I think
being
Posada was on
locked.
there too.
Yeah, yeah. This was like the very beginning of turning it over. Of course, they go by the core four, but Bernie Williams was really the first cog and piece to the next generation of great Yankees.
Yes. And they
Of
all
course.
say that. The media likes to say core four, but they all give Bernie the props and the flowers,
Now, I got an issue with that core four thing, and it's not because I need it to be extended to five, because I know that the way the other dudes came up is a little different than Bernie.
Yeah.
Bernie also opened up things to get Paul O'Neill because Bernie made Roberto Kelly expendable, and that too was huge. But what I do want to say with revisiting that time in Yankees history. The reason I have an issue with the core four has nothing to do with Bernie being excluded, because I understand why he's excluded. It's not personal.
Yeah.
But my issue with the core four is that Andy Pettitte left and came back. And I'm sorry, Andy, I love you to death. But when you put on that Astros uniform, to me, that kind of like disqualified it a little. It's cool
Yeah,
that he
I
came back
understand.
and all, but
Yeah.
you know where I'm going with that. And then when and Andy Pettitte is a good person, honest human being, and I understand that a lot of guys have a lot of lines of shit when it comes to the HGH things of that nature. And I do
Yep.
think that Roger Clemens, in that regard, was a negative influence on Andy.
Agree.
But I will say
Yes.
this: I do believe that Andy was a stand-up individual for the way that he answered questions truthfully,
Yep.
without, how would you say, making lemonade out of lemons? Because when I saw Andy Pettitte on there, I must admit I was a little cautious, because I have such a high opinion of Andy Pettitte, the human.
I don't look at it the same as some of the other guys. I know people will call me out on that or whatever, but I don't think it was like he's cheating the game. I don't view it like that.
There's levels to it, bro. There's levels to it, and like, I had a really good talk with a trusted source that's connected with MLB, and he had some talks with some very important guys during the steroid era, and they flat out said it's not that it makes you better. Does it give you a little more confidence? Yeah, but
Keeps you
it's
healthy.
about it's about feeling like it's May 1st when it's September 1st.
Mhm.
Now, while I'm not saying that I condone it and all this other shit, what I will say is that I hate the hypocrisy, and I've said this before to you. It comes up
Me
often
too,
when this
man.
topic comes up, because Major League Baseball only cared when Congress did.
Yep.
And you take a guy like a Jose Canseco, who was basically blacklisted from baseball. It was proven evident in his final MLB run with the Tampa Bay Rays. I think they were
And he
still the
was
Devil Rays at the time.
he was kind of the whistleblower in a way.
But this is my thing. Why a lot of people can't stand Jose Canseco, I might be in the unpopular side of things, where I actually appreciate him, because unlike assholes like Mark McGuire and Rafael Palmeiro, who were doing the whole
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan on Arsenio thing,
Yeah,
you
right.
know, Jose told the truth. So say what you want.
He did.
Say what you want. He might have not done it in the most classy way. He might have
Right.
not done it in the most, like,
Virtuous way, might want to say.
virtuous way. Yeah. But
Yeah. Yeah, he had some.
this is a part of baseball culture, whether people want to admit it or not, and it saved
Yep,
the game of baseball, no matter,
it
no
did.
matter, because at the end of the day, dude, after the '94 strike, Major League Baseball lost so many
Yep.
fans that never came back, and the
And listen,
iconic home run race between Sosa and McGuire brought them back.
and you can argue that '98 overall was one of the greatest seasons of all time.
A
Between
lot of
that
people
race,
will say that.
the Yankees being arguably the greatest team of all
But
time.
you talk about virtuous, and I'm not saying that you didn't have Yankees that would dabble in, but what I am saying is that when you look at the absurd home run numbers in '98 and many years like '98 during that era,
Yep.
at the end of the day, team guys that are ball players, guys that are team guys, were the guys that were at the top of the mountain when that phenomenal season came to a conclusion.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
sometimes I think I choose to lead with common sense.
Yep.
Like, you know, do I think Barry Bonds needed that stuff to be as great as he was? No, I don't.
No.
Do I think Alex Rodriguez needed that to be as great as he was? No, I
Nope.
don't. But, I will look a little deeper at Sosa and McGuire. I'm not going to front.
Yes, you
I'll look a
have to.
little deeper at those guys, because it's a little more personal with McGuire with me. Let's go talk about Don Mattingly again, because I feel that Don Mattingly got cheated out of his fair share of All-Star games,
Yeah.
which could have potentially swung a little more percentage in his favor for the Hall of Fame, because My issue with the Hall of Fame is that they want to talk about being virtuous when it's convenient. They
Exactly.
they want to talk about, so if you're virtuous and you didn't cheat like Mattingly, but you had a chronic back disorder, you're not getting in,
Right.
even though you were probably the best player in baseball for 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
Now, if you're Big Poppy and you're a great media personality and you did
Yeah.
it, but they weren't testing for it, and you kind of just dance through the rain. And don't get me wrong, I don't have nothing against the man, but you're in.
No, he's
But
a
we're
good
gonna stick,
man.
but we're gonna stick it to A-Rod because we
And
really don't
Bonds.
like him. We really don't like him.
We don't like
But
Sheffield. We don't like Bonds.
you're throwing a dude in the Hall of Fame that never picked up a glove, dude. And
Yep.
I'm not shitting on the DH position, but what I'm saying is a Hall of Fame that has Big Poppy but doesn't have Rodriguez, Bonds, or Clemens just doesn't
Is
make any damn sense.
no, because it's a joke. And it really is, honestly. And not
Not
taking
good.
away from Ortiz, we both saw him destroy our team for years. But yeah,
No, it's just, and it's not like I'm singling out David Ortiz. I'm just saying that goose, gander, kettle black, and it's like they pick
yeah,
and choose. They pick and choose the way that they want history to be remembered and kind of choose
you
it for you. When in
know what I think
reality,
gets you know what I
make
think
a
gets overlooked.
steroid wing, make a steroid wing.
They should make a steroid ring. You know what I think gets overlooked? I think there's more pitchers that used than they want to let on.
Well, that's another thing too, because I've always found it ever so comical how it's like football fans are in love with offensive stats and touchdown
Yeah.
passes and things of that nature, and baseball fans are in love with the long ball.
Yep.
Chicks dig the long ball.
Right.
But
You tell me. Yeah. Oh,
the point is, like, if anybody that thinks that pitchers also weren't using, they're on one.
they're crazy to think they weren't. Just yeah, we just don't really know. Like we don't know of any famous ones besides Clemens. Really, I don't know if they just didn't get caught or I don't know.
Yeah, and it's like the age old debate about if these people should be allowed entry into the Hall of Fame. I personally think that if you exclude that era of baseball, you're a big hypocrite because you're excluding an
Yeah,
era that literally saved your sport.
it did
But it's the
though.
same hypocrisy about let's make money on the Field of Dreams game, but let's continue to keep Shoeless Joe Jackson out of the Hall of Fame.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense. But
It
Major
doesn't.
League Baseball,
Yeah.
unfortunately, has they've had convenient morality.
Yep.
Do I need to divulge into the Negro Leagues? You get where I'm
Nope.
going.
And there should be no place for a moral police in the Hall of Fame. Like I understand certain things. Pete Rose, he made his bed, obviously,
Well,
but
Pete Rose also signed something to make sure that he would never
yes,
get in while he was
exactly,
alive.
exactly. But we're not judging character; we're judging players.
No, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And that's kind of where I'm at with the whole matter as well, Corey. Um, Getting back to our squad, New York Yankees. Where do you see this going in terms of the American League? Because I must admit, I cannot remember a season after May 1st where so many teams were still kind of floating into mediocrity, where it was
Yeah,
so top heavy that the other league was overachieving. And of course, in another month from now, this could even out or it could be more of a disparity. But what are your thoughts on the American League as a whole being slow out of the blocks?
I think we have to. We do have to wait another month to really see the full picture because I don't think it's as lopsided as it appears. So
No, I
let's give
tend
it.
to agree. And I find
Yeah,
the comedy out of the whole Yankees record against teams over 500 when in reality, once the Mariners get their act together and if the Rangers get their act together, those numbers get skewed quickly and they'll change quickly. And that's the comedy of of that. Like you got knuckleheads like Squirrely Dan that are in the New York Mets, New York Yankees trash talk page.
Yeah.
Ta- you know, but that's just a natural born troll. I mean, when
Yeah.
you're invested in how far Aaron Judge hits home runs, when your team is like a flailing, overpaid joke.
They are terrible.
Yeah.
They struggle to even beat the Rockies, and it's like, come on, guys.
No, no, it's constructed really poorly. And my good friend Richard Dorney, who is a diehard Met fan, said this to me recently. He was like, dude, this is just as miserable as the Wilpons. It's just done in a different manner. Stevie will spend the money, but he's not thinking about the big picture. And that was evident when they brought in Verlander and when they brought in Max Scherzer, and then they
Yeah.
dealt them to two Texas teams to duel it out and see who could win a pennant. Like it was pretty wacky. And I'll be honest, man, Juan Soto was a terrific Yankee for that one season and helping us win our 41st pennant.
He was.
But when I consider that that man makes more in a contract than Shohei Otani, I just want to slap myself.
And look how much he makes more than Judge.
And in part, that was also Judge, you know, prioritizing being a Yankee over being richer because, there was
Yeah.
a love, growing up for his hometown team, the San Francisco Giants. And, I'll shout out John Heyman again, Lawrence High School, when he's hit the arson judge on that.
Yeah.
I went from vomit to let's vomit to being relieved because for about 8 minutes I thought that was real, and
That was
John thought it was real. It was just he panicked and he put it out too quick.
a wave of emotions, a very brief one, but yeah.
And shouts out to whoever that Giant fan was that showed up at opening day with the arson judge jersey. You gotta love the humor there.
This is my opinion about Juan Soto. He's a great player, but I think the Yankees will be happy he didn't come back long term wise.
No, I tend to agree. Just bear with me, Corey. My dog is gonna wake up the entire house because I had told Jen, that I was doing a show with you for the ride home, and obviously I just arrived home, so we're going to continue it. But I
You're
just
all
thought it
good.
was, yeah, it's like Daisy. You still don't know. You know when to eat, and you know when it's time to go out, but you still don't know what time Daddy gets home. But a good watchdog nonetheless, and she's a real sweetheart. So we do love her here,
They are great companions.
no doubt about it, bro. And if you're gonna go the dog route, please adopt. Go to the shelters. These animals are amazing, and they need homes.
Yep.
Just bear with me, Corey.
You're good.
Yeah, my key was a little crooked there. Hi, Daisy. How are you, honey? Let's doing a podcast, like I do. Now that you know that the house is secure, can I continue to talk to Corey? Okay. Did you wake up, everybody? How you doing, girl? All right. Yeah, Ryan McMahon, you made mention of him, Corey. Getting that hit in extra is definitely a confidence booster. And to your point, the average is starting to get a little more respectable. He's over the Mendoza line, thankfully, playing better. He plays a phenomenal third base.
Yep.
Um,
Good
However, I
teammate.
don't.
Good guy.
No, no,
Yep.
no. You can tell he's a good guy, but I must admit, I think his time is thinning out with the organization. More so because the Yankees are going to have a question mark in the offseason of what are we going to do with Jazz Chisholm? Is there going to be a new contract? Are they going to go a different route at second? Because Jose Caballero not really part of the plans coming in. He was more as a fill-in, but he's earned his roster spot. And something I find refreshing about this Yankee team is that in previous years, guys like Luis Hill, guys like Anthony Volpe, they would have had like penciled in spots, and being healthy was a good enough reason to give them that spot.
Yep.
Where I think the Yankees, Brian Cashman and co, are feeling the pressure that, hey, this is a year that we really could get back to the World Series and finally win
Yeah.
it. And those are the kind of decisions that wouldn't have been made, say, 2, 3 years ago, or even last
Right.
year.
And I also think they have the depth to fill in those pieces. It, they have replacements that are arguably better. So,
Well,
yeah.
when I think about the potential of a George Lombard possibly
Oh
playing
wow.
third in the future, it's nice to see Spencer Jones up.
Yep.
Of course, you don't want it to be under these circumstances,
No. I feel
but
terrible
that's
for Dominguez, man. He was. Uh,
but that's life in MLB. I mean,
it is.
think about Lou Gehrig's first game. Oh, I'll get my job back. No, no, actually, you won't.
Oh, Wally Pip.
Yeah, but I mean, it really moves like that.
Yep.
Before we get out of here,
Dominguez.
Corey,
Yeah.
yeah, I want to ask you about Dominguez. Do you feel that this kid still has a future with the Yankees, or do you think that it's similar to like a Peraza,
Man.
other Yankees, an Andahar,
I
guys
don't
that
know. It depends on it. Really, this is a big season because I do believe Grisham is leaving after this year. So they will have an outfield spot open. I
I
don't know,
tend to
man.
agree, Corey. I share your sentiments on that.
He needs to be healthy. Like, bottom line.
It's just uncanny, like the bad luck this kid's had.
Yeah.
And then,
That's
the
why
other
I look.
knock on his game was the inability in left field because, most people in the Yankee organization or just fans feel that he's just a more logical fit in center field. But of course,
Yeah.
when Grisham had the career year, and I've said this before on the show, I'll say it again. I think the New York Yankees panicked a little bit when it came to the qualifying offer because I really think the Yankees thought they were going to lose Bellinger.
Yeah. And it turns out that they could not afford to lose that man for sure. I mean, he's just so
And I'm very
steady.
thankful. I'm very
Yeah.
thankful that they came to that conclusion because I'll be honest with you, I thought he was as good as gone when it just seemed like the two sides couldn't get close enough. But I think what
Yeah.
happened ultimately was Cody did his rounds and realized, hey, I really like playing here. I'm a second
Mhm.
generation Yankee, and this is a good situation for me because
Yep.
he essentially replaced Juan Soto.
You did.
And now you got
And
the emergence of Ben Rice in that lineup, being a
yep.
lefty as well. And in
And
some
he
people's eyes,
likes
he's also contributing to replacing Juan Soto.
yep. And Bellinger likes the culture. He likes his teammates. Like he felt comfortable in his first year.
And I'm not going to lie, I think Bellinger does financially well because he still lives off of that 2019 league MVP. But you know what? More power to him because Giancarlo Stanton has an outrageous
Yeah.
contract when you look at what he does. And don't get me wrong, I love G, and he's always been a top tier playoff performer.
Yep.
But I must admit that he's been a cog in the lineup. A clog, I
Yeah.
should say, a clog in the lineup.
Well, I mean, he's not very multidimensional as a player, obviously. He used to be in his younger years, but
Oh yeah, when they were the Florida Marlins, and the Baby Bombers were ever so close to going to the World Series in Girardi's final year. I could understand why they pulled the trigger. Now, revisionist
yeah,
history. A lot of people feel that we probably could have got Bryce Harper,
yeah,
but he's kind of winding down similarly to the way that G is. But uh, you look at 24. The ALCS MVP. When the guy gets hot, he is still one of the hottest bats in baseball when he is all the
and
way in.
he's
And
still a
eh,
good hitter now. Like Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's just they have such, and this is what I mean about the depth. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, when G got hurt, I thought it was gonna affect the Yankees a little more worse than it did. And then that's a credit to guys like Rosario,
yep,
guys like Caballero, and of course, Ben Rice having the kind of year he's had prior to bruising his hand.
yeah,
Hopefully he snaps out of it soon. And there's still this guy 99 that hasn't even really heated up to his standard yet.
right. They just have a lot of grit, a lot of depth. Yeah, I like this team a lot. There's a long way to go, obviously, but they got pieces they can move as well if they want to make trades.
Well, that's the beauty of it, because the reality is not everybody's going to make sense to stay at the deadline. But when you have up to 7, possibly even 8 guys, if you're even including Blackburn, not that I ever want him to start a game, but just putting it in perspective,
Yeah,
you, you know, and once again about the Yankees making moves that in the past they wouldn't make. I was so happy that they sent Grichuk packing. I was
yep,
over that.
yeah, because they have better options in the minor leagues. Like,
Yeah, and for a lot of naysayers saying that this team doesn't know how to develop talent, I think to a level that's
uh,
overblown.
the pitching side, they definitely do.
And not to mention, how good is Matt Blake? Because when I consider
He's great.
that Tim Hill was a guy that just kept getting recycled, and then you look at even current Met Clay Holmes, what he helped do
Mhm.
with his career. He
Those
helped.
guys were nothing. They were on the. Clay Holmes was a pirate. He was terrible with them. Tim Hill was released by the White Sox. Like, come on.
Yeah, the White Sox, when they were real shitty, he got released by the Mets. And he went back to the Mets. And he got released. But he's been around.
Yep.
But I like guys like that on my team.
Yep.
Guys that have been kicked down. Guys that know how important each pitch is, because they know how fickle of a business Major League Baseball is.
And they're hungry for it because they know they're fighting for their life. Like, they know that they're not promised a roster spot. So they're, you know,
I mean, even look at JC Escara, bro. Like, that's
yep,
an awesome situation.
it is.
And A-Rod made a good point. I think it was last year when he said this team is constructed crazy. They got 3 left-handed catchers, and I get where he's going with that too. I
They're
do.
not constructed crazy this year.
No, this year I really like, and I'll tell you, a lot of people saw it as a low-key kind of deal, but I was so pleased when they brought back Ahmed Rosario.
I liked it a lot too. I was
And
surprised by the Goldschmidt move. I'm so happy that he's back too, because I did not think that was going to happen.
but truthfully, it's a blessing in a way,
It
because let's say
is.
hypothetically, if we didn't bring back Goldschmidt, Ben Rice gets injured for real or just needs a day,
Yeah,
then
who's playing first? Bellinger, and then they gotta.
right, that would
Yeah,
be the only real logical option.
yeah, and then they got to put somebody else in the outfield. It would cause problems.
And once again, even though I wasn't the biggest fan of the qualifying offer, things have seemed to work out well. Before we get out of here, I want to do one final thing here. Um, John Sterling, we lost the Yankee legend. Obviously, I did
Yeah,
a tribute show to him, but I know he was one of your favorites too, Corey, and I'd love some feedback on what you feel about the late, great Mr. Sterling.
he was. Nobody loved their job more than John Sterling. That's
That's
how I
that,
can
that's
put
a
it.
that's a good way to put it, and it's an accurate way to put it. Yeah, I agree with
And
that, dude.
he was the soundtrack to the greatest fan years of my life, and he continued throughout the years. But when I think of him, it was just, obviously the home run calls, they're funny,
Oh yeah,
they're exciting. But to me,
yeah.
it was just the passion and just the consistency. I think at one point he was, what, 5,000 straight games or something like that. Yeah.
I think what's terrific too with him is that he had a humble nature about him that made him
Yep.
likable. And even some people that maybe didn't like him the way that you and I did, I think they still found him comical.
Yeah.
And people get old, and
Hmm.
when he started getting old and wasn't as sharp, so to speak, I thought he handled that with grace too. Even like
He did.
the comedic value of when he totally misplayed uh, the Stanton almost homer,
Right.
or I mean, like, dude, I remember Corey Haddock and Steven Ridline. Any chance they get, they'll try to throw a bow at us rather. And with the second deck, that was funny. I got to admit that was funny. But seeing the way that the Yankees choose to honor him this year, I think is terrific. And it was a real emotional win when they got the dub right after. And you know, the Yankees after losing Thurman Munson played the Orioles,
Yep.
and I did find it kind of. I don't like to use the word eerie, but I think what I'm trying to say is I don't think everything's always a coincidence, and
No, I don't either.
it was the perfect opponent to honor a great member of the Yankee family. I think that's the best way to put it. And he had other stops. He's originally from Philly. He's been around the block, but
Yep.
and a former Yankee player for a bit, but obviously known as a phenomenal manager. I want to give Bobby Cox his roses too before we get out of
Yes,
here.
sir. Yes, sir.
My
Absolutely.
my best memories of him were in a fortuitous way for us because we obviously beat those guys in the pinnacle, the World Series twice in a 3-year
Yep.
span. The Braves were basically going to be the team of the 90s until the Yankees essentially stole the 96 World Series because were it
Mm.
not for the Leyritz home run and the way it started did not look good. Andrew
Yeah.
Jones becoming the youngest player in World Series history to hit multi home runs. A record previously held by the Mick. That's
This
and
is what I
game
wonder.
game one was a beatdown,
If 96 doesn't happen, does 98 still happen? That's what I wonder.
and it's one of those forever questions that you really don't know because it changed so much. You saw Derek Jeter grow
Yep.
so quickly. And I'm gonna be honest with you, '96 was bittersweet for me because I'm such a Mattingly fan. That shit hurt. That shit felt good,
Yes,
but it also hurt.
it did.
Seeing guys like Dale Swaim and Charlie Hayes on the team. No knock on Charlie, he caught the final out of the series, but
Yeah.
there were certain guys that were like catching a a free ride, so to speak, or a good ride. Especially Dale Swaim. I mean, if they would have, and I'm not knocking on him, but if they would have asked him to shine shoes, he would have done it.
Andy Fox was the best player on the 96 Yankees. Just kidding.
Pat Kelly was actually on that roster, even though he barely
Yes.
played.
He got traded, though, didn't he?
I believe he did. I believe he did. Yeah, that. Yeah, '96. If that doesn't happen, I really don't know. But that was like, back to Cox. The Atlanta Braves were just the standard of the National League for so long.
They were.
They were able to extend their divisional streak because of the strike, because the Expos definitely were going to win the division that year,
Right.
possibly the World Series. I think they would have played us. Um, but when I think of Bobby Cox, I just think of cool, composed, old school, but not on the level where he would ever let his emotions get the best of him or ever do anything to make baseball look bad. I think that's the best
Yep.
way I could put who Bobby
He did.
Cox was. And
He did get
he aged.
ejected a lot, though.
He got ejected. He got ejected, but I just like the way he handled his business. And
Yep.
you can't talk about the Atlanta Braves or the '90s without also giving one final bouquet to Ted Turner. Gotta shout out
Absolutely.
Ted Turner as
Yeah.
well. What a
Ties
lot of
into a
people
lot.
don't what a lot of people don't realize is that what Ted Turner did with making that superstation and TBS and all that, obviously CNN as well,
Yeah.
but keeping it on the sports side of things, um, the Braves being on a national network, Atlanta Braves baseball, opened up the lane for so many other teams to get those
Yep,
mammoth TV deals, and it
it did.
changed the landscape of the way people viewed baseball.
Yep. Ted Turner was
And
a visionary.
absolutely, and not to mention anybody that had the vision when you talk about sports entertainment, and he went toe to toe with Vince McMahon,
Yep.
and for over 80 weeks kicking Vince's ass. There's something to be
Yeah.
said about that too. So you can't talk
Also,
about the Atlanta Braves, Bobby Cox, without giving Ted Turner his roses as well. Because I think about the Yes Network, I think about like
yep.
these different networks, and I do believe that it goes back to what Ted Turner did in the 90s.
Yeah. He laid the blueprint for how it's done. And
Indeed.
honestly, we don't have inside the NBA without Ted Turner.
That's also a good point. That is also a good point because NBA fans are happy that at least they stay together on ESPN. It doesn't hit quite the same. Just like when you hear the old school NBA on NBC Music, which is
Yep.
finally back, it still ain't hitting the same because you
It
don't have
doesn't hit
Hannah
the same.
Storm.
You're right.
You don't got the czar of the telestrator. It's a different era.
You don't have Marv Albert. Yep.
But if you're a fan from then, at minimum, it's a nice little nostalgia. And with the Knicks going on
Yep.
this run again and hearing that music in the background, it kind of feels like everything's kind of good in the world again. In a world that, believe me, sports is a healthy distraction.
It really is, man, because the other stuff I don't choose to dwell on because it's too negative.
Too negative for sure. And I think you said it well, and I think this was a really good show, Corey. I had a good time. Any final thoughts on the way out?
um, hmm. Carlos Rodon making his debut tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, I imagine he'll be on a pitch count, but
Yep.
I'm optimistic that the Yankees are going to get out of Milwaukee with a dub and hopefully get back into our winning ways. As I don't get down on bumps in the road. Like I said, the Major
No.
League Baseball season, so many peaks and valleys, but
Yeah.
I think we're looking at a legitimate race because I'll be honest with you, outside of Toronto, I don't see Baltimore or Boston arriving, but I'm not going to count out Toronto just yet.
No, I'm not either. But we saw Baltimore. I mean, we handled them easy.
That was a different kind of handling. I mean, when you're talking about wins by 5 runs or more, 4 consecutive games for a sweep, only two other Yankee teams did that, and you got to go back to 39 and 49.
Yeah, and they just couldn't get us out. Like,
No, it was wacky, and I'm over here looking at Pete Alonso, and while he had a couple of moments, he had a couple of long balls. I'm
yep.
like, helps out my fantasy team, but I'm like, damn, I think Pete had a little more in mind than this, and I,
Yeah.
I want to have one parting shot for the stepchildren of New York, that other team.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
dude, it. I said that they were out of their minds to let Pete Alonso go, like he just wasn't worth it.
I agree.
And I'm sorry, Mets. And then the Nimmo money dump to
Yeah.
go get an aging Marcus Semien. And I'll be
Yeah.
real with you. Just like, Boston fans have their issues with John Henry, I could
Hmm.
understand why Met fans are starting to have their issues with Uncle Stevie because it seems like
Yeah.
Uncle Stevie is more concerned about that casino.
Yeah, and he's selling dreams and he's not making them come true. There he he was selling them like the best of everything, but they've actually missed out on players.
And I got to be honest with you. When I consider how poorly the Mets have started the season, when I saw Uncle Stevie courtside game 2 of the New York Knicks, I'm like, you got some audacity, you know, smiling. And I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
come on. Like, I was shocked. Like, I saw Lindor there recently too, but I don't think it was a coincidence that the Knicks cracked in game 2 against Atlanta once I laid eyes on Uncle Stevie with that stupid Met hat.
Yeah.
And listen, I want to make one thing clear. I don't hate the New York Mets,
I
but
don't either.
there's a certain contingent in that fan base that really makes me laugh at their failures because they are so consumed with what we're doing as Yankees and Yankee
Yeah,
fans and etc.
they're wrongly cocky. Like you have no reason to be cocky. Just sit down. Like,
But they are the quintessential example, and this doesn't include people like my guy Richie Dorney, who's been a fan forever and is one of the best example of what a Met fan should be.
yeah,
And don't get me wrong, he hates us, but he's a fun guy. I'll tell you what. We went to that 9/11 game, 20th
hmm
anniversary. Went to the 9/12 game. He is a fun dude to watch a Subway Series game with, and he made ESPN during the 12th. Aaron Judge wasn't
true.
the only guy who had a migraine that night. Yeah, he was 2 seats over from me. I'm like, miss me with the cameras. I'm just happy that my head stopped hurting. But the almost team fight that wasn't, Francisco Lindor and G put on a show, 5 home runs between the two of them. But
Yep.
what really got my attention was obviously, honoring, it was about the city that night. And the Yankees ultimately lost that series 2-1, but they won the most important game of that series, the 20th anniversary of 9/11.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge with the bomb. And I remember screaming at everybody that was surrounding me in the 7 line saying, "Is that a Yankee Stadium home run?"
25 years this year. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and I'm gonna do my due diligence to make that game.
That's gonna be special.
There's gonna be a new energy around it because this is Soto's second year as a Met. I saw him as a member of the Yankees. I saw them in Tampa, St. Pete to be exact, but Tampa, Tampa Bay Rays,
hmm
the slop called the Trop. But you know, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So I'm gonna try to make it a point to get out there for Yankees Mets, and if things continue to go the way they are, this could be a fun one.
It could be, and even if the Mets are bad, they're still, it's still a great series because
And you know how they are. You know how
Yep.
they are. Back in the day, the what was it, the Mayor's Cup they used to have when they would play
Yep.
the yearly game. This is like pre-interleague era, and the Mets
Yeah.
actually did win the inaugural interleague game in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, and Steinbrenner hated losing to the Mets.
Yeah, and I love watching the playbacks of Jeter saying what he would have done if the Mets would have won. And Jeter just was not to be denied, and I think he made his mark early in that series. I think that's safe to say.
Absolutely. I remember Paul O'Neill. He talked about it. He said that it was a weird feeling because the Yankees, they were expected to beat the Mets, and if they didn't, it would have been the worst thing to ever happen. So it was almost like they they couldn't really celebrate it how they wanted it to because it was
It was like more like a relief and just doing what you had to do. But
yeah
I will say this: when you look at the three-peat Yankees or the 4 and 5 years, the 2000 team was so vulnerable because
they
when
were
you consider that they were a phenomenal relay away from being eliminated in Oakland in 3 games, and they only won, to my recollection, 86 games that year.
yep they had a bad September. Hope and thankfully the rest of the East was shit that year. But yeah,
No, it's interesting, and while you consider that the Mets caught a break not having to go through the Braves because the Braves were their Waterloo, because I distinctly remember in '99 in the back of the sports page, you saw a picture of a bruised New York Met and then a gargantuan New York Yankee with the arm around him. Don't worry, little brother, we'll get him. And because we were very close to having the Subway Series 2 years in a row. But
yep,
when you revisit that, although the Mets were a wild card, they had a better record than the Yankees that year.
yep,
And when you look at how close the series actually was, um, yeah, that would have been a tough one to take. So I'm very thankful because if there's,
yes,
sometimes people will ask me, they're like, would you ever trade a World Series back to get a different year that you lost? And
uh,
I must admit, I would probably say no. But '01 was a big deal. And I'm
It
like,
was.
"Damn." And I'm like, what would if we could have had a different result there? Now, granted, it could have still been it would have been a four-peat if I'm willing to give back '96. Now, I don't want to give back '96, but
No,
but what I am saying is, if you could do something like that, '96 would be the only one that I would even consider, just for the sheer fact
exactly.
that I was still kind of in mourning of the whole Don Mattingly thing.
I think, and to me, 96 had to happen because if it doesn't happen,
Well, that's the whole point, Corey. To your point, that is the whole point. That if '96 doesn't happen, who knows?
yep. I remember David Cohn. He said they were sick when they lost in '97. Like they were like in a bar and shit
Yeah,
after the series.
that Cleveland Indians team that beat us was damn good, and it's hard to believe that during that era they didn't win one.
Yep.
But when you consider that the Atlanta Braves had Maddox, Glavine, and Smoltz, not to mention just great teams and a great manager, rest in peace, Bobby Cox, that they didn't win more than one. But who did they
Yep.
beat? The Indians.
Yes.
You know, the
And
Marlins beat the Indians. It's crazy.
Cubs broke their curse beating the Indians,
Yeah, somebody's curse was gonna go.
and now they have the curse.
Indeed, indeed. And
The
if
Guardians. Nah, I don't like the name.
I understand the meaning of the name, but that's another conversation for another day.
Yep.
Corey, as always, a great show, and I really
Awesome.
appreciated it. I'm gonna do my shout outs before we get out of here. Check out Big Bosco Productions. My co-host here at the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Pod, Mr. Idris Salam, putting out three
Yes.
albums over the course of the last 90 days. The boom bap era is still alive and well. He has an awesome jazz album, and also check out the dirtiest rap album ever made. Check out our friends at the Casual Convo Show, Monday and Wednesday nights, 8 to 10 p.m. And if you are frequenters of Facebook, definitely check out Yankees Daily. Check out Talk of New York. This show is currently airing on Talk of New York, and really looking forward to the passionate Yankee fans that I am honored to be working with in the near future for Talk of New York. You know, we're already kind of in it right now, but yeah, really excited, man. There's nothing more fun than being able to wear my passion for my sports through podcasting, and also puts you in a position to meet a lot of phenomenal people. So shouts out to all of you. You know who you guys are. And with that, I think it's a wrap.
It's been great. I really
All
enjoyed
right.
it.
Well, thanks for hanging with me late. Oh, how could I forget? Forgive me. Happy Mother's Day, ladies. It all starts
Yes.
with you. It all starts with you. And I'll tell you real quick about a phenomenal mother, Maria de Jesus, the first influence as to why I love the New York Yankees. She worked running a restaurant for my grandfather. She worked in Jersey making Yankee jackets. And I remember every year having a new one. And we're going old
Wow.
school. We're talking about the ones with like the little starships on the sleeve.
Wow.
And she basically put three jackets on a bed because I guess she thought, well, he has to make his own decision. Now I didn't know shit from Shinoli about baseball yet, but she had a Met jacket, a Yankee jacket, and a Boston jacket. I think
Ooh,
she put the two like toughest, like get away from me next to there because she wanted to see if it was just in me. And I remember distinctly pointing at the Yankee jacket and saying, "Abuela, that's the one."
that's the
And
one.
you would have thought I did a lot more. Man, she was so proud. Abuela, we miss you, our family matriarch. Thank you so much for just all of it. And let me tell you about Abuela. Her and John Sterling go hand in hand. because I heard a lot of games on the radio thanks to my grandmother, and it gave me a true appreciation for loving the game in
That's
a
why I
way of
love baseball.
yesteryear. Yeah, baseball
Baseball
is
is
timeless, bro.
generational. Yeah. My grandfather was a huge Yanks fan, and that's where I
Absolutely,
got it
man.
from.
Yeah, my father took me to my first Yankee game. It was actually against the Detroit Tigers. Mike Pagliarulo, walk-off sac fly. And we weren't good during those years, the
No,
latter
sure
part of
weren't.
the 80s and the early 90s. But
Nope.
that was what built me into being a Yankee fan. Some of the miserable times and just a profound love and excitement when Gene Stick Michael, Bob Watson, Buck Showalter, three-headed machine in the
Amazing.
wake of George Steinbrenner's suspension, getting things lined up for us to be who we're supposed to be. So shouts out to those men, and that was the beginning of it. And
It
the
was.
rest is, as they say, the rest is history.
Rest is history.
Yeah, bro. But for Corey, I am Richie. We appreciate you staying up late with us, or early, depends how you look at it. To all the ladies out there, uh, happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's
We
Day.
love we love you, and it starts with all of you. So thank you. Even the Mets mamas, even the Red Sox mamas. Happy Mother's Day to all of you. Have a great night, everyone.
See you guys.